All right, right from dictation. Now, as I just showed you a while ago in one of the slides, right from dictation is a part of your listening section. Okay, and remember this thing that listening, if you remember, I showed you earlier, is the third and last section of your exam. Okay, and where do you guys have right from dictation? At the very end. Okay, now you can write this down if you want to. Right from dictation is the very last task you will do in your PT exam. Okay, and it gives you marks for your listening and for your writing. And you will see just in a minute that how important this topic is for your listening and for your writing score. Okay, and there are a couple of tricks in here that they have done that I will just touch in a minute. Okay, but remember, the very last topic you guys will do in your exam is write from dictation. Okay, now let's see how important this is for writing and for your listening. Okay, have a look at the slide. What does it say? Priority order for writing. Can anyone tell me what does priority order means? Yes. Okay, so basically what this slide is showing you are all the writing tasks of your PT exam and listed in order of importance actually. Okay, so if you see, where is right from dictation? At the top with 28% weightage. Now what does that mean? Basically that right from dictation is the most important topic for your writing score. Okay, and if I actually show you its weightage for listening, that would be more or less around 22%. Okay, so though this is the last topic of your exam, the last task you will do, but is super important for your writing and super important for your listening score. Okay, and this is the trick they have done over here. Actually, they have put it at the very end. All right, and you guys know what usually happens with the last task you have to do in any exam. You just can't wait it to be over and just wrap it up and go back home. All right, so this is what they want to check over here, how good you are at managing things. And also another thing, how good you are at managing time as well, that I will just touch on in a minute what is time. Okay, now any questions so far, anything that was not clear? Should we move on? All right, so let's have a look at now the nature of this topic, as in what you have to do over here. Now have a look at the statement. This is how your exam screen will look like in real exam. What does it say? You will hear a sentence. Type the sentence in the box below exactly as you hear it. Write as much of the sentence as you can. You will hear the sentence only once. Okay, so what it is basically telling you, that you are gonna be listening to an audio, and that audio will contain just one sentence. Okay, at times it can be as simple as the assignments must be submitted by next Friday. At times it can be as simple as this. All right, what you have to do is you have to type the sentence in this box below exactly as you heard in your audio. All right, so you are actually listening something, you're listening to an audio, of course it is contributing towards your listening score, and you are writing it exactly as you heard, so it is going towards your writing score. Okay, now let's put these things in bullet points so I can explain you guys more clearly. Now if you pay attention in here, you have an audio. Mostly you can say audio will be in the range of 3 to 5 seconds, and it will always have just one sentence. It will never contain more than one sentence. Okay, now word limit of the sentence can vary, but in the range of, you can say, 8 to 18 words. All right, and you have to type the sentence using the same words and of course with the correct spellings as you heard in your audio. Okay, about the time I will just touch in a minute. And remember, you can have 3 or 4 questions for write from dictation. Now firstly write it down in case you hadn't before, or take a picture of it, and if you have any questions ask, then we'll move on. All right, any questions, anything that was not clear? All good. All right. Okay, now let's recap some of the things that I just covered. Where do you get write from dictation? You get it in your listening section. Okay, where in listening section? At the end of your listening section, which is also, you can say, the end of your exam as well. All right, now what is the nature of write from dictation? Its nature is that I will listen to an audio that will contain just one sentence. Okay, now audio can range from 3 to 5 seconds, and the word limit of my sentence can be 8 to 18 words. Okay, and what I have to do, I have to type the sentence exactly as I heard using the same set of words. All right, it's not like you heard something else but you try to type something else because you're trying to, like, make up the words or something. That won't work. I will explain you the scoring criteria in detail as well. Okay, now a very important thing over here about the time. This says that set aside 3 to 4 minutes, 1 minute per question. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me go back to a previous slide and write this thing down. This is very important. So, when you will get to listening section, the first task you will do is a topic known as summarize spoken text that you will cover in the coming days. Okay. Now, for summarize spoken text, you will get a fixed time of 10 minutes per question. So, fixed time basically means that you don't have to worry about managing the time by yourself. It will be fixed, it will be controlled by the computer. Okay. But what will happen is, after summarize spoken text, for all these topics, starting from MCQ multiple, going all the way till write from dictation, you will get an overall time for all these questions. Okay, that can be anywhere between 23 and 28 minutes. All right, I will say it again. Starting from MCQ multiple, going all the way till write from dictation, you guys will get an overall time that can be anywhere between 23 and 28 minutes. And it's up to you then how much time you give to any task over there. Like, if you want, you can spend the entire time on just MCQ multiple. You can do that. But of course, you won't be able to then do any of the other questions and you will lose marks for that. Okay. Now, you need to actually keep this time management card in mind when you are doing your listening section. If you want, you can take a picture of it. This is how you can say you will manage your time across all these other topics, making sure you save 3 to 4 minutes for your last 3 to 4 questions for write dictation. Okay, now take a picture of it or write it down. All right. So today we are not covering any of these topics from MCQ multiple to highlight incorrect words. Okay. So I'm just showing you the time durations over here. When these topics will be covered in the coming days, so the time management part for them will be discussed in detail over there. Okay. I'm not going to touch them, but for write from dictation, of course, I will go into detail today. Okay. Now, what it says here is, if you sum up these time durations, it will go up to like around 1 minute. Okay. And that 1 minute is for one question, by the way. So for 3 to 4 questions, that means basically 3 to 4 minutes. Okay. Now, let's actually move on to scoring guide. Now, have a look over here. This I have taken straight out of official Pearson guideline, and let me zoom in so you guys can see clearly. Now this says each correct word spelled correctly gives you 1 mark towards listening and writing. Okay, this basically means that you are being marked for each and every word individually. If you misspell any of the words over there, then you will be losing 1 mark toward your listening, 1 mark toward your writing. Okay, so if I translate it into some other things, you can say in your write from dictation, you have to be careful of these 4 points. Now write them down, and then I will discuss them one by one in detail. Okay, so the things you have to be careful of in here are your spellings, something known as capitalization, punctuations, and also your contractions. Okay, now let's take it step by step. Firstly, about spellings. That I believe all of you will know what spellings are, right? Like you can say the characters you use to make up a word. Like if I ask you what are the spellings of right, you will say WRITE. Those are the correct spellings for it. Okay. Now, the way you can say your spellings work for write from dictation is, let's just say I take this sentence. All right, let's read this one. What does it say? Before submitting your dissertation, your advisor must approve your application. Okay. Let's just say for this complete sentence, I like spelled each and every word correctly. But for the very first one, I spelled it as this, let's just say. All right. So what did I do? I made a spelling error. Okay. Now there is not gonna be any partial mark or anything for this word. It will be completely wrong. Okay. It doesn't matter to the computer if I write like, before with this spelling, or if I write my own word over there. If I write my, own name over there, it doesn't matter. I'll be getting the, you can say, same number of marks. All right. So your spellings in here are quite important. Okay. And especially when you will practice different questions, you will notice that at times the words that have S or ED at the end, those are the ones that are at times difficult to understand or difficult to capture. Like you might be unable to capture S at the end of the words, or at times maybe ED. So be very careful of these things. Okay. And one thing I want to ask you, if let's just say for a word I am confused whether or not was it with S or whether or not was it with ED, what can I do to make sure I type the correct thing and not make any mistake? Yes. Okay. So of course the one with S's, they will be plural. All right. And if I'm talking about ED, that will be like, you can say for some of the verb second form, or for some of them it can be their third form as well. Okay. I will have a look at my neighboring words. Basically, I will have a look at the whole sentence other than this word that I have written. And I will make sense that should it go with a plural word, or should it go with like, with the second or third form of word. And then I will type the exact thing. Okay. Because remember, audio, you're only going to be hearing once. That's it. All right. Now, let's move on to the next thing. Capitalization. What is capitalization? I believe you guys would know. Capitalization. Any idea? I think you guys know. Yeah, what is it? Then tell me.
We use the capital letters to start the sentence and
Yes.
mainly the nouns and the describe to describe the name of a person.
Yes, good. Okay. So with capitalization, first and foremost, with your starting word, the first letter has to be capital. Okay. Like, what is the first word over here? Before. Now let's just say if I had written before like this, that would be wrong. I won't get any marks at all for this word. Okay, it's again the same thing as it goes for spelling. No partial marks or anything, it's completely wrong. Okay, now tell me this thing, and this is something that at times confuse students. Let's just say for this sentence, I was unable to capture before. Okay, I was unable to capture this word. And the sentence that I wrote is starting from submitting. Should I capitalize the S of submitting or not? No, you shouldn't. Okay, because the way you can say computer is programmed to give you marks is it wants the B of before to be capital, not the S of submitting. If you capitalize the S of submitting, you will lose marks for that as well. Remember that. Okay, now other than your first word, these are more or less, you can say, all the things you capitalize in your right hand dictation. Okay, now take a picture of it and go through it point by point, and I will discuss these points with you guys as well. All right, so if you look at the very first point, what does it say? It says always capitalize proper nouns. Okay, now what are proper nouns? Actually, you can say name of any specific thing. That can be a name of a person, name of a town, names of, you can say, different political parties, departments, and all the things that are mentioned here. Okay, some of these points I will go through with you guys. You can say names of religions, religious followers, sacred books, words of family relationships used as names. Like, at times we say Aunt Rose, Uncle Henry, or like we have name of the relationship first, followed by the name. So both of them have to be capitalized. Okay. Next point I believe should be self-explanatory. Names of countries, states, and cities that I believe all of you would know, always capital. Okay. Now, next one, at times students make the mistake. Nationalities, and very importantly, remember languages, always capital. Okay. So languages as in, let's just say English, Spanish, Hindi, Urdu, whatever language name it is, first letter capital. All right. Also names of any races or tribes. Educational institutions, degrees, any particular courses name, always capital. Okay. Also government departments, organizations, names of any political parties, and historical movements, periods, events, and documents, also capital. All right. Specific electronic sources. Internet you will come across quite often in your right from dictation. Make sure you always capitalize the I of internet. Remember that. Okay. And also, if you come across net or World Wide Web, though they are not that common in right from dictation, but if you do come across them, do capitalize it. Okay. And trade or brand names, like you can say name of any particular brand a company has, or name of just a company as well. If you come across it anywhere, make sure you capitalize it. Okay. Now, some other very important points. Firstly, take a picture of it or write it down, and then I will explain it. Okay. So, first one, very common in the right from dictation. Names of days. Remember, they are proper nouns. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wherever you will come across them, you will always capitalize their first letter. Okay. Also, names of months, like January, February, March, April. First letter always capital. Okay. Now, second point, important one. This is a very common confusion students have. So when it comes to names of subjects, okay, like let's just say if we take example of chemistry, biology, economics, or any other subject's name, if you are coming across them in your sentences, you don't have to capitalize them. All right. But let's just say if the subject becomes part of a particular course or maybe a degree name, then you do capitalize that. Okay. Like have a look at the example. This says he is teaching chemistry 101. All right. So chemistry 101 became a course name, of course. Okay. That is why I capitalized the C of chemistry. If it was just, let's just say he has been teaching chemistry for 5 years, then I wouldn't have capitalized the C of chemistry. Okay. Do remember this point. All right. Names of subjects usually capitalized or not capitalized? Not capitalized. Okay. But when will I capitalize them? When they refer to a, yes, okay, when they refer to a particular course, or at times maybe a particular degree as well. All right. Now, last point. This says capitalize the title of people's profession when used as part of their name, like Professor Smith, but not the professor. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's just say if I'm saying this sentence, he is a professor in the University of Melbourne. No need to capitalize the P of professor. Okay. But if let's just say it is followed by a name, like in this sentence, it says the most experienced faculty member in the University of Melbourne is Professor Smith. Now it is referring to a, you can say, particular individual. That is why now I will capitalize the P of professor. Same actually goes for, you can say, other professions as well. Let's just say if it was doctor or any other profession. Okay. All right, guys. These are pretty much all the points you need to know about capitalization. Now, any confusion here? Anything that was not clear or maybe confusing, you can ask. Okay. Do go through these points when you go back home. All right. Because as I just showed you, if you make a mistake in capitalization, so of course for that word, or if there are like more than one word over there that you have to capitalize, you won't be getting any marks for them at all. All right, so be careful of this point. That is why I put like 2 slides for this and I spent so much time on this. Okay, now moving on to the next point, punctuations. Can anyone tell me what are punctuations? Yes. Okay. Full stop. Any other punctuation? Question mark. Yes. Other than that, comma. All right. The most common, you can say, punctuations. Firstly, full stop. Okay. Now, where will you put full stop? Yes. Okay. At the end of your sentence. Now, firstly, you guys take a picture. Then I will ask you this. All right. Tell me this. If you have a look at the last word, what it is? Application. Okay. Let's just say I couldn't capture the word application and my last word was your. Should I put a full stop after this then? No, that will be wrong. Okay. Then I will lose marks for the word your as well. I have to put full stop only after the last word that was there. If you miss this one, then skip the full stop. Okay. Now, about comma. So I am listening to an audio. Okay. How will I know that I have to put a comma after any word? I will know it if you have a look over here by a certain pause or change in tone by the speaker. That's the thing. Now, what do I mean by that? Is there any comma in this sentence? If you see, yeah, after the word dissertation. So you can say in the audio, this word, this sentence will be said as, before submitting your dissertation, your advisor must approve your application. Okay. So if you saw, after saying the word dissertation, I actually broke my flow. I took a very brief pause and then I continued. Okay. The same sort of thing you will notice in your audios as well. For some audios, you can say it might be more clear, but for some others, it might be hard for you to figure out. So this thing will come with practice. Okay. And also in here, the same thing. If you were unable to capture maybe this word for some reason, don't put a comma with any other word. That will be wrong. Okay. The comma has to be after this word only. Okay. Now, next point. Apostrophe S. And it is telling you that this shows possession. Can anyone tell me where I will use apostrophe S and where not? Anyone? Anyone who can tell me? Like if you see in this one, it is student apostrophe S admission and not just like, plural students and their admission. Why is that? I think some of you know, but you are being hesitant as to not to speak. Anyone? No idea. Okay. If you see, I wrote there shows possession. So what can it mean? Okay. So look, possession basically mean that it is referring to some particular thing. Like, what do I mean by that? When I'm saying student apostrophe S admission, it means I'm referring to the admission of this particular student. This is what I mean by that. Okay. So where will you use apostrophe S and not just plain S? When you can identify a certain connection between the two words. Okay. Like in this case, I could identify the connection. Like it could refer to the admission of this student. But let's just say there is no apparent connection or whatsoever between the two words, then in that case it will be just a plural word with an S and not like with an apostrophe S. Is it making sense what I'm trying to say or not? Making sense or not? All right, I will explain it more in detail later on. Okay. Now, in here, in the last example, if you see the apostrophe is after S and not before S. So between these two, remember the difference is I put apostrophe before S when I'm referring to a singular thing. And I put apostrophe after S when I'm referring to plural. Okay. The first one is referring to, you can say, the admission of one student, Whereas the second one is referring to, you can say, the admission of a number of students. Okay. Okay. Now let me explain you guys the apostrophe concept with another example so you understand, because I believe some of you are a little bit confused. Okay. Let's write a couple of sentences here. Okay. Now tell me which actually word with an S will get an apostrophe. Which word will get an apostrophe? Okay, let me highlight the words. Yes, Mahesh, what were you saying?
Economic.
Good. Economics lecture. Okay, because that basically means that the lecture of which subject? Economics, basically. Okay, but in the first one, when you're saying students are, there is no, like, you can say, relation between are and students in that way. Okay, so this is the concept of apostrophe S. When there is a connection between the two words, like I could say the lecture is of the economic subject. Okay, then you can actually do it in this way. All right, do you understand the concept now or not? All right. Okay. Now, firstly, the people who are online, guys, any questions, any confusions from you so far? Anything that was not clear regarding spellings, capitalization, or punctuations that I just explained? Please ask. All right. If no question, then about contractions. Okay. So these are what you call as contractions, basically. You know, words like can't, won't, shouldn't, wouldn't, doesn't. These are what you term as contractions, basically. Okay. Now, you can say contribution from contractions here mean that if you hear a contraction in your audio, make sure you type a contraction over there. Okay. Like what I mean by that is basically that, let's just say, if you heard in the audio that it is saying he can't, let's just say, come to the office tomorrow. So let's just say you heard can't, but you are typing cannot. That will be wrong. Okay. If you heard can't in the audio, make sure you type can't. That is the concept of, you can say, contraction. Okay. All right, guys. So these are all the things you need to know about right from dictation. If there is still any confusion, anything that is not making any sense, please ask. Because now I'm going to go to the next topic. Any questions, any confusion, please ask.
I have a small question.
Yes.
Actually, in the sentence, I forgot to keep the comma. For example, before submitting, comma. If I didn't keep the comma there, like the word submitting will be wrong, as considered as a wrong answer.
Yes, that's the thing. So for that word, you won't get any marks. So let's just say if you have a look over here, the word dissertation is supposed to be followed by a comma. If let's just say you are unable to identify the comma, then for this word you won't get any marks.
Okay.
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 And no worries. Okay. Any other questions? All right. So now we will cover repeat sentence. Okay. Repeat sentence, you can say, has a lot of similarities with this topic we just covered. And